Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Attack the Baseline, a WNBA podcast where each episode we attack our baseline knowledge of the WNBA. I'm your host, John, joined, as always, by my lovely co-host, Kristen. Kristen, how are you doing?
I'm doing great.
Yeah?
I'm feeling energized.
Oh, yeah.
I'm feeling ready.
Yeah, we got juice for this pod.
The season starts in 2 days.
So soon. So soon.
From when you're hearing
When you're hearing this.
Yeah.
A couple more days from when we're recording this. But yeah, Chris and I were talking about recording this earlier today, and we're really excited. We have a lot to talk about, so this one might end up running a little longer than the last couple. But before we get into the details, this is the final part of our 4-part team snapshot series. So we're going to be looking at the last 3 teams that we haven't discussed yet. The Sun from Connecticut, and the New York Liberty, and the Vegas Aces, last year's champions, and the 2-time champions in a row. Back-to-back champions, I mean to say. But yeah, we have a lot to talk about. We have some news and some podcast recommendations. So because we have a busy schedule, why don't we get in? There was a major news story today in the league. Well, I'll let you introduce it. For those that didn't hear, which would be pretty hard if you're following the W.
Oh, I broke the news to John.
She did.
That the W announced that Toronto will be the next city to get a W team.
Yes.
After Golden State.
Yeah.
Which is starting next year, 2025. Toronto will get a team starting 2026.
Pretty cool. Very cool. Like, out of the blue announcement, listener Laura, she brought to our attention, even though we had already known a little bit prior, but I was excited by how excited she was. I think it's cool to hear from our listeners that are like, oh, did you see this news? You got to do an emergency pod. I was like, well, we're recording tonight, so we're going to get into it. I think this is cool. I think, obviously,
it is cool.
Obviously it's a bummer that it's just not Philadelphia, but I don't think my hopes are sunk as far as what it could be.
No.
I was thinking about it today, and I was like, so they add a West Coast team in Golden State. They add an East Coast team here in Toronto. And then I really thought about it. And I was like, well, they could add 2 Eastern Coast teams and then redistribute the league. But then I sort of thought about, like, they can really just add whoever they want because the conferences don't matter.
Right.
Anymore.
They don't.
Now, since 2016, as we learned the other week, the playoffs are seeded based on just how well you do in the whole context of the league. Mm-hmm. So they could add Philadelphia and Miami and just say there are no conferences anymore. I mean, obviously this is a little bit of cope because, like, I'm a little nervous that it's like, oh, well, let's say they add Houston back and add that as a West Coast team.
Yeah, that's what I saw.
Yeah.
Houston wants to come back.
Right.
No, don't be a bummer.
No, we still have 2 slots. I think the league's gonna go to 16 by 2028 or 2029.
Yeah, 28, I think is what she said. It might just be a little bit longer for us here, but that's fine.
Well, I would kind of hope then after 2026 that they just add 2 more for 27.
Yeah, in the same year, I know.
Instead of doing 1, because you can't do 15. I mean, you're gonna do 13.
Yeah, whatever. You can do whatever.
I want to hear, send us an email at attackthebaseline@gmail.com if you come up with any good Toronto name ideas.
Oh, yeah. I was going to think about some.
I was thinking about some. I personally like the Toronto Asteroids because it kind of has to be like...
Ew.
It kind of has to be like dinosaur themed. It has to be.
Okay. That's like just Astros to me, though.
Yeah, but it's not the Astros.
No, Asteroids is a horrible name.
So you don't like the Houston Comets.
Comets is better than
Asteroids. I mean, you could call it the Meteors. That's worse. Asteroids is better than...
No. Meteors.
Yeah, meaty ores. Yeah, no, I don't love that either.
No, then it just has to be some concept relating to asteroids.
Oh,
fire.
You could, okay. You could do the Impact. You could do the
Oh,
Toronto Impact. Lock that in.
that
Yeah, I think that's pretty good.
yeah, that's a good
I think
one.
that's good. Um, yeah, because you could do like the quake, but it's not really an earthquake.
No,
There's
it's
no earthquake in Toronto.
I don't think.
I just you can't do like the Jurassic, Cretaceous, the blah blah blah,
Ew.
evolution, kind of mid.
Uh,
You could do that, but like that kind of sounds like a whole league of its own. The Toronto evolution. I don't know.
no, that's dumb.
I agree.
Okay, we'll
Pink,
see.
could they be the pink team?
Some would say it should be called the W Raptors.
Some idiots
Some.
would say.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, some small-minded people would say W Raptors.
Yeah.
But I did appreciate the joke Raptors, but with a W.
That's pretty
That's
funny.
pretty funny. W Space Raptors, no. Raptors with a W, yes. But anyway, they could be the pink team. Congratulations, Toronto.
Oh, they should, because Toronto's red. The Raptors are red.
Raptors are red, yeah, and their old jerseys were purple. Like
Oh, they have to be pink. Okay.
they're stealing our thunder. They're stealing our thunder.
All I have to say is I'm curious how much the Raptors organization was involved in this. Because all I have to say is if the Sixers' horrible leadership is why we're not getting a team, I'm just gonna be pissed.
Oh yeah, trust me. I already voiced that a couple episodes ago. I hope that
There it is again.
Dawn just wants it, and that overpowers it.
Okay. Well, we will keep you all updated
Of
on
course.
that. There's also news that the new Golden State team's name should be coming soon.
Yes.
In the next couple of days, so that's a big deal.
Oh yeah,
So we're excited to hear about that.
big time. Mm-hmm. But yeah, little team news. Exciting time in the W. So there's that. There's that news. Today on ESPN Daily, there was a very good podcast that I was fortunate to listen to, and it was called. And you can look this up on their feed. Suggest if you've never listened to ESPN Daily, it's good stuff. It was about will Black WNBA superstars get what they're due, and it was a look into Caitlin Clark's shoe deal. So she got a $28 million shoe deal. I'd never seen the figure before that. And, they talk about how it's very warranted that she got this. Like, she is driving a lot of attention to the W. She deserves it, blah, 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 blah. But disproportionately, the black superstars in the WNBA, which make up a much larger percentage than the white superstars, don't get shoe deals. So,
Yeah.
they historically, they have in smaller numbers. But here are some pretty, glaring statistics, unless you have, a comment.
No, not right now.
Okay, so I have some interesting things of note from the pod. So Caitlin's shoe deal is the 13th shoe deal in the history of the W. Cheryl Swoops was the last black athlete to have a shoe deal, and that was in 2002. Hey, it's John in post here. A quick correction on what I just said, actually. Cheryl Swoops was the last black athlete to get a contract with Nike in 2002. Candace Parker got a shoe deal in 2010 with Adidas, which is why, now that she's retired, she's going to be the president of women's basketball for Adidas. So, a little correction there.
Okay.
22 years ago,
Yeah.
they haven't given a shoe deal
Wow.
to a black athlete.
To a black woman's basketball player.
Correct. I'm just saying in the context of the W.
Okay.
They have given out shoe deals since
Yeah.
that. But it's pretty insane. And before and I learned this too, it would just be for the product. You would get the shoe deal and it would just be to have the shoe. You wouldn't get paid to wear the shoe. It was just like, here's free shoes.
Okay.
So now it's like they're putting checks on it. And, there's a whole conversation about the college athletes getting paid. That's a bigger, global thing that's happening. And that expands to this. But I just thought it was interesting because obviously there's this huge disparity. And a lot of these athletes are calling for equality. They're not even calling to kick they don't want to kick Caitlyn's deal off the table. They don't want her to not get it. Like, it's all about expanding the table as opposed to limiting it. Because as we know, there are only 3 or 4 active shoe deals in the league right now.
Right.
Sabrina, Caitlyn, Brianna, and Elena Deladon, who's not even in the league right now. So, like, it's crazy.
Yeah.
And there were talks too in the podcast about Angel Reese and the effect that she's going to have on the culture of the league. And even if she doesn't see the floor, like, they believe that she will have an effect off the court about how people are excited about the W and, like, fashion and whatnot. So they talk about there's hope in Angel's camp that she could get a shoe deal with Reebok.
No, she got a shoe deal with Reebok.
Like, officially? They did not say that on the podcast.
She signed with Reebok.
She's signed with Reebok, but that doesn't mean that she has a signature shoe.
Well, not yet.
So she's being promoted by Reebok.
Yeah, and they said she's gonna get a shoe.
Okay.
She's gonna design her shoe.
Because they said from what it sounded like that was what the hope was. But if that's true,
They're like, from what I read, she's the only women's basketball player that Reebok has. Nike wanted to sign her. Adidas, she said no. I want to sign with Reebok because nobody else has signed with Reebok yet.
Interesting.
And they're like basically gonna let her do whatever she wants.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So maybe I misheard it in the pot, but that's good. That's really obviously a good thing because you need to drive that. You need to show some equality there right off the bat with some of these rookie stars.
Oh yeah.
And like, just the last thing I'll say, the last like jarring stat that I thought was, pretty eye-opening is that back in 2020 they did a study and 80% of the postseason league awards went to black players, but those black players were given like 50% less media attention than the 20% of white players that got their awards. So that was a big thing. Like Sabrina, the year that she came into the league, and I'll talk about that when we talk about the Liberty in a little bit, she played 3 games. She got hurt. She gets a shoe deal off of that.
Wow.
And like,
that's actually crazy.
If that doesn't like show you something,
no, it doesn't surprise me at all.
Yeah. It's like, well, look, we're very aware of the way things are in the world.
Yeah. I think people are more sensitized to seeing black male players. That's something people see all the time in basketball, other sports. Female black players is not something that I don't think people see all the time.
Right.
It's different than people's, subconscious conception of what black females should be doing.
Right. And it's a shame. But I mean, and that's not to say
females in general. I mean,
true. And you can say, I can't say that. You could say that.
Well, because anytime I see, a video on Twitter of some woman player doing something, a highlight reel, there'll be comments being like, well, she's a man. That's a man. That's okay.
Yeah. Well, yeah, they actually talk about that. The very masculine players in the W, how it's like the W doesn't promote them in a way because they don't think that there's like gonna be enough support for the thing. It's ridiculous, but hopefully things can change for the positive. And you have players like Asia Wilson, who has like had a pretty profound effect on like style. She does a one leg. So the way that Angel Reese wears like the one leg sleeve, that's like an Asia Wilson thing. And I didn't know that, but like there are videos of like LeBron shooting where he's got like the one leg sleeve and his shorts rolled up to mimic Asia Wilson, which is like a cool thing for LeBron to do
that's cool.
Get that awareness. But like Asia Wilson doesn't have a shoe deal. She should have a shoe deal.
Yeah.
She's like literally one of the 3 best players in the league.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
No, obviously she should.
Hey, it's Post John again. So we recorded this podcast on 5/10, Friday, and on Saturday the 11th, it came out that Asia Wilson is in fact under contract with Nike on a huge shoe deal that she's been in contract discussions about since February of 2023. And of course, Nike came out and said, like, you think we wouldn't have Asia Wilson under contract? And that, like, feels like a little bit of lying to me. But look, love to see it. Well deserved. Shout out to Asia. But anyway, I know that went on a little longer than I thought I was going to be,
No,
but
it's
I'm
fine.
happy to talk about it because really you should go listen to the pod. It was very good. ESPN Daily, like I said.
Well, there was another ESPN
Yes.
Daily. The ESPN Daily has been like on the WNBA lately. They
Big
did a
time.
whole show about Candace Parker. On April 9th, they had an episode that was called Louis Vuitton Pumps and Feathers, the fashion behind women's college basketball. And a lot of it started talking about Angel Reese. She actually went to the Met Gala last week.
Cool.
She was the only women's player there.
Okay, the only one.
Last year, Brittany Griner and her wife went,
Cool.
but they were the first ever like WNBA people to go.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So now Angel is the only person this year. She was getting a lot of criticism for it. People saying like how she's skipping practice, how's she going to get back for the game? That's ridiculous.
A bunch of people are freaking bozos. Like she's getting so much heat. It's so ludicrous. It's so ridiculous.
Yeah.
Way undeserved.
No, ridiculous. She went back. They had a game against Liberty,
Yeah.
which it was in New York.
Right.
Was it not?
Preseason game.
Yeah. Okay. Then they won. She went to the Met Gala. She looked beautiful at the Met Gala. And then she went and played her game. And then they won. So, whatever. I learned that she is very like fashion forward. She had a shoot in Vogue in April. She has, I just actually saw her in an ad for Good American Jeans, which is Khloe Kardashian's jean brand. So we mentioned Reebok. She is getting a lot of deals, not just with sports companies, like with fashion brands, which I think is really cool. And the podcast mostly talked about the coaches and how the coaches use their fashion to express themselves, really comparing it to men's coaches who just like wear sweatpants. But these women like are dressing up and they're looking incredible for their games. They're looking very professional. Like they are taking their jobs very seriously and showing the country, showing young girls how you can be professional and also, have a job that you like and be a successful black woman.
Right.
Which is great. So I just wanted to highlight. They did talk about Kim Mulkey a lot. She just has like crazy outfits.
Yeah.
That's
there are things about Kim Mulkey,
but there were some like really interesting other women coaches that I didn't know who they were. So one was the Notre Dame women's coach, whose name is Niele Ivy, and she has this really cool like powder blue suit. She wears a lot of like monochrome suits, like pink, blue, green.
Love.
So cool.
Love it.
And then the coach at Texas A&M, Sydney Carter, also always looks stunning. And there was like a big controversy around her in 2020 because she was wearing just like a tight outfit. And men were saying that's so inappropriate. How's she wearing that out? Literally, she was wearing full pants and a turtleneck shirt. And she was wearing a mask. It was 2020. And people were saying that's inappropriate. Because she's just like a curvy woman.
Right.
Like, and just wearing like a fashionable clothes. It's just insane. The stereotyping, the bias.
Mansplaining.
You're right.
It's a bunch of BS.
Sorry, I'm not wearing sweatpants to my job. Like, they're taking it seriously.
Yeah.
and they want to look nice. Oh, and they
Yeah.
mentioned Dawn Staley. She wears like Louis Vuitton everywhere to the games.
Oh, is that what I don't know what brand she wears. That
Yeah, she wears Louis.
tracks.
So that was a fun podcast. If you're interested in, it was more college. So if you're interested in college
Yeah.
stories,
Cool.
yeah,
So yeah, some good listens, some optional listens if you want to check that out. But yeah, like it is part of learning about the W that we learn about some of these, these are very important cultural aspects of the league, and I want to be aware of them. Like, we're using this podcast as a broad scope. I want to be all the way in on everything that the league has to offer, and this is a big part of it. And
yeah.
I'm happy to learn, because that's what we're all here for.
Awesome.
So anyway, let's get into our final part of these league snapshot series. Kristen is going to go first today. She has the Connecticut Sun, who had the third best record in the league.
Yes, they had the third best record. Last year they finished 27-13.
Pretty good.
Pretty good. They have historically been a very good team,
Okay.
but they've never won a championship. So they were founded in 1999, actually, as the Orlando Miracle.
The Orlando Miracle. What miracle were they talking about in Orlando?
Orlando.
Yeah, that was when they found the Book of Mormon.
Yeah, well, they were pretty bad as the Orlando Miracle.
Okay. Makes sense.
So the team then was sold to the Mohegan American Indian tribe in Connecticut,
Which is
who
cool.
run, oh, it's so cool, who run Mohegan Sun, and they were the first group to own a team that wasn't the basketball team.
Oh, they were
the
the
NBA
first. They were
team.
the first case of that.
Yeah.
Cool.
So they moved to Connecticut in 2003. And they play at the Mohegan Sun Casino.
In the casino.
Yeah, there's like a resort arena. And in 2003, they acquired Rebecca Lobo,
Yes.
who went to UConn.
Okay.
They have a history of like getting players that go to UConn,
Why?
which makes sense.
They're not going to get Paige.
No.
Sorry. Not going to get Paige.
And they made it pretty far in the playoffs in 2003, but they did not win. And then she retired.
She retired too. It was because she was one of the original, like, the woman from the Olympic team.
Yep.
Yeah. One of the, like, not elite players, but one of the,
Right,
like,
which
two...
was 1996, so this
Yeah.
is,
Yeah, yeah. This is the end of her time.
Yeah. They did get to the finals in 2004 and 5 and lost both of them.
Hate to see it.
It really sucks. And then they were still good until 2008.
Okay.
They always had a winning record
Oh,
all that time.
it's good.
2009, they went 16-19.
Okay.
So still not bad.
Take a step back. They didn't make the playoffs?
But it somehow got them to the number 1 draft pick in 2010.
Man, that is like a improbable lottery. I don't know who
Yeah.
was in the lottery that year, but I'm just going to take a look at that. 2009.
Yeah.
Okay.
So 2010, they draft Tina Charles, number 1 overall, who still's playing now. She's the center for the Dream. And in 2012, Tina Charles won the MVP, so she was very good. But the rest of the team, I guess, wasn't great because 2013 to 16, they missed the playoffs. And then Tina was traded in 2014. So she didn't have a great run on the Sun. 2016 to 2022, they have also been good. 2019, they lost in the finals.
29. Okay.
2022, they lost in the finals.
Jeez.
So they just like cannot
So close.
win.
Just can't get over the hump.
Yeah. So they had a couple trades in this offseason, which hopefully can get them to be better. They traded for Tiffany Mitchell and for Mariah Jefferson, who goes by Mo. And then they also just traded for Queen Egbo
I know Queen.
like 2 days ago.
Oh,
Yeah.
good catch.
So I did, yeah, I know. I did this like last week, and then I just looked today. I was like, oh, they just did like another trade.
Do you remember what they traded for her?
Like a pick and then like a bench
Like a high pick,
player.
like a first? I don't know.
Don't know.
Oh well, she's not a starter. She's like a bench
No,
player.
she won't
Okay.
start you.
Okay.
Probably, I don't know, probably not. It was actually interesting because this is the first time I went and looked at which draft members were still part of the teams, or like from this draft,
Oh.
or who, if people have been waived.
Who's been caught? Yeah.
So they drafted Layla Lacan from France. So
Yes.
she's still on the team.
Okay.
But
That
the
makes sense.
other two were waived. And this year, not, a trade or a signing, but Brianna Jones is back. She tore her Achilles last year on the team. So she didn't play last year, so she's back this year.
Okay.
She had an interesting kind of run. She won the most improved player in 2021.
We love most improved players in Philadelphia, so.
True. And then she won the 6th player of the year
Oh, really?
last year.
That's cool. That's
Not
a
last
cool
year,
arc.
2 years ago.
That's a cool arc.
Yeah.
Most improved to six woman. Very cool.
And then she tore her Achilles last year.
Sucks. Awful. Terrible.
Yeah. So that's basically how we're starting. This year for the Sun, the projected starters are point guard Mo Jefferson, shooting guard Tiffany Mitchell, small forward Duana Bonner, power forward Alyssa Thomas, and center Brianna Jones.
Nice. Nice. So all things expected, they should be good again this year. That's what they say.
Yeah, they should still be. They lost 2 people that were good. One was traded, one retired. They got these, a couple people back. So
Yeah. Now you have your best person off the bench coming back. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, she might have lost a step with the Achilles, but
well,
something you never know.
she should be starting this year,
Yeah. Well, true.
perhaps. So we'll
see.
see.
And just to go back to that 2009 draft real quick, it was pretty improbable that they get the number 1 overall pick. So you said they were 16 and 18. They were tied record wise with the Mystics and the Sky, but I guess tiebreaker they were at the bottom. But the other teams that were below them, the Liberty had a worse record. The Silver Stars had a worse record, the Lynx had a worse record, and the Monarchs all had a worse record. So that's 4 teams below them and 2 teams that were tied with them, and they still end up getting the number 1 overall pick. That is bonkers. That's crazy.
Yeah, that's
Like,
really good luck.
really improbable odds. So pretty wild. Jersey talk?
Their logo I love. The orange is a little much. We know how I feel about red, orange, yellow.
This has been discussed.
But the jerseys are cool. The logo is cool. I like it. Their Rebel jerseys this year are very cool.
What's
and
the deal?
I have to read to you about it. Okay, so in making their Rebel jerseys for this year, Nike worked with a team of tribal members from the Mohegan tribe.
Cool.
Their chief and their medicine woman were all involved.
Cool.
And it was very collaborative in making this jersey. The trim of the jersey represents the old Mohegan symbol, first painted on bark and baskets.
Okay.
The center dot on the symbol represents spiritual life force. There's 13 dots around the life force, which represent Mohegan creation story. There's a sun on the belt buckle for the first time.
That's cool. I like that.
I actually think it's all of their jerseys were redesigned, not just the Rebel jersey.
Cool.
So they have a white, an orange, and a blue.
Cool.
The Rebel one is blue, actually, not orange. But I just think it's cool how they consulted with the tribe. They made it symbolize the tradition and the history
Yeah,
of the tribe.
it's cool.
It made it really meaningful.
Right. And this is what, like, some of these other professional sports, they still have these allusions to Native American culture, but they don't do a good enough or a job at all to connect with some of these tribes.
Right, exactly.
So this is like the bare minimum that you can do.
Yeah.
And what's nice is that it's not like they're called the Connecticut Sun.
Mm-hmm.
So like it's not an offensive name, but they're working with the Mohegan tribe anyway.
Well, because they own it.
Right, well,
The tribe owns
true,
it.
right? The tribe owns it, which is what's very different about
Right.
that than compared to the Chiefs.
Correct.
So very cool, very very good thing.
Yeah, very cool.
So, cheers to Connecticut.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see how they do this year. Next team we have to talk about, though, New York Liberty. I told Kristen I very much enjoyed looking into the Liberty. They have a pretty interesting story. Another team that doesn't have a championship, but has made several finals appearances and has fallen short. So first things first, I'll talk about the jerseys. They have a white jersey. They have a Statue of Liberty bluish green. That's their like
I would say minty.
minty green, bluey, whatever. I love that color.
Oh, yeah.
I think that is like a sick jersey color, unique.
No, there's definitely like 2 summers ago, you were like, I really want like mint colored shorts.
Oh yeah,
Like, okay.
Come on, look at that. We're opening the door to my life. Yeah, I like the color a lot. So it was funny. We were at Sixers Knicks in the first round, and Sixers beat the Knicks at home at Wells Fargo, and we're leaving, and the Knicks fans are flooding out, and there's just like a guy in a Sabrina Ionescu minty blue Liberty jersey, and I'm like, okay, all right,
You liked that.
pretty cool. I mean, I like that the Knicks fans left sad. I'll tell you that, but we're not talking about the NBA.
They're not sad.
They might be. Well, we don't know. We don't know.
I hope they're sad.
I didn't say that. You didn't hear it from me. So let's talk about the Liberty. The Liberty joined as one of the original 8 franchises. They've made the finals 5 times, and they have not won. Which I think the Sun also made
4.
5. 4? Okay. So
God, that's heartbreaking.
They come in 1997. They come in the league hot. They're boosted by Rebecca Lobo, who's one of their original team members.
Well, now I need to see if she's ever won.
Rebecca Lobo and Teaspoon, Teresa Weatherspoon, who's the newer coach of the Sky. She was one of their original team members. They play so well. They make the finals in 97, so they're in the first finals that the league has ever had, and they lose to the Comets of Houston, who no longer exist. So then those same two teams meet again in 99, and the Comets win again. But that's where the famous shot that Teaspoon made, I mentioned this, there's like the shot, it's called. You should check it out. It's like a half-quarter buzzer beater that was pretty sweet. Ultimately, they end up losing that series in 3 games because I learned that early on in the W, the finals were only 3-game series instead of 5. So now they're 5 before they were 3. I was like, so they were losing the finals in 2 games? That's like
that kind of sucks.
Kind of
yeah.
lame. But I mean, I guess it's all about like how much rights they have. They see the Comets again in 2000, and they lose in 2. So they lose 3 finals to the Comets.
God.
97, 99, 2000. The main struggle in 99 and 2000 was that Lobo spent a long time during the season sidelined with knee issue, which led to her being traded in 2002 to Connecticut, which is what you said. So that puts that puzzle piece together.
Yeah.
They were able to get back to the finals in 2002, but they lose to the Sparks. So that is 5 years, 4 finals, 6 years, 4 finals, 4 losses. Absolutely brutal. The team stays competitive through 2008, but in 2009 they decide to fire their head coach, Pat Coyle, And after a bad start, they bring in Hall of Fame player Ann Donovan as head coach, who helps the team get back to the conference final, aided by strong play by Cappy Pondexter. That's a name that we learned about way back in the beginning of this. Cappy, one of the better players in league history. But again, they don't get too far. And then we move on to another part of their history, which is more of the 2010s. They bring in Bill Laimbeer, who we learned about last time, who coached the Detroit Shock, helped them win championships. They bring him in to be their head coach from 2013 to 2017. But then after that, there's another window from 2015 to 2019 where they bring in Isaiah Thomas, not the short Isaiah Thomas, the Detroit Pistons Isaiah Thomas. Who,
I'm supposed to know two Isaiah Thomases.
well, this Isaiah spells it Isiah, and the other one spells Aiah. And he was on the Celtics, and he was also on the Suns this past year, and Isaiah Thomas was like a Piston from way back when.
Okay.
So these are both like, Bill Laimbeer was also a Pistons guy. So like they brought in these guys from Detroit, Isaiah to be their president of basketball operations. So they try to like transform the team by bringing in these guys who have had some success in the past. So within that period of time, they trade for Tina Charles, a player that you just mentioned, from the Sun in 2014, who's an All-NBA talent that year, helps the team get to another Eastern Conference appearance in 2015.
Did Tina Charles ever win a championship?
Look it up. They lose to Indiana in that conference finals. In 2019, Charles is the all-time leader in points for the franchise.
Okay.
So at that point in time, she's the all-time leader. But then they trade her to Washington ahead of the 2020 season. But it nets 3 firsts in the 2020 draft for New York, and 2 future picks, a second and a third.
Wow.
So not to mention in 2019, the Liberty are the worst team in the league. So that leads to them winning the draft lottery. So this is what's wild. In 2020, they drafted 6 players. And those picks were the 1st overall pick, the 9th overall pick, the 12th overall pick, the 13th overall pick, the 15th overall pick, and the 26th overall pick.
Oh my
6
gosh.
players in the top 26. That blew my mind. 5 players in the top 15 blew my freaking mind this morning. I was like, oh my God.
Well, who were the players?
Well, number 1 overall was Sabrina Ionescu,
Okay.
who is their now current star, who we've mentioned before on this podcast. Like their elite 3-point shooter. They're like Caitlin Clark type. They're Steph Curry type. Obviously, we talked about the Sabrina versus Steph thing. Sabrina comes into the team, gets hurt into the 3rd game, and this is the COVID season. They end the season with a 2-20 record.
Oh my God.
Every time I'm like, oh, a lower bar, a 3-win team. They won 2 games. That's like mind-boggling to me.
Well, wait. But
I don't know who the other players were, because clearly they didn't like
dang.
make an impact. I mean, I'm sure there's probably 1 or 2. I really just was focused on how many picks they made, because that was crazy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what's the point of having all those picks if none of them work out?
It's a good question, but it's just like the volume there was still wild to me. Like
Yeah.
if they hit and you know, shame on me for not knowing, but if they did hit on 2 of those picks, that's a win.
I mean, look. Obviously, 2-20, that is insane.
Correct. But it's a bunch of rookies.
Yeah. And, like, they're clearly taking these 2 years, 2019 and 2020, to do a quick tank rebuild.
Well, in 2021 and 2022, they also have losing records.
Okay, a couple of years.
But 23,
Yeah.
ahead of 2023, they signed Brianna Stewart.
I appreciate a tank. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, we get it. We get it. We've mentioned this.
A purposeful tank.
Yeah, you have to purposefully tank.
So fine, they did 2-20. They said, okay, we're going to do that.
Yeah. But it's really like, as far as I know, who their 21 and 22 picks were, like when they added Brianna Stewart, that's when it became real.
Okay.
Because last year they went 32-8, the second best record in the league,
Yeah.
and they made the finals, and they lost in 4 to the Aces, who are so far and beyond the best team in the league as far as like starting 5 is concerned. But the Liberty are really freaking good. And I wouldn't be shocked if like next year or the year after that is the Liberty's year.
Okay, because what we'll talk about the Aces next, I've just seen stuff about the Aces where after this year, it's unsure what's going to happen. But the Liberty,
I think it's pretty sustainable. I mean, Brianna entered the league in, if I'm not mistaken, 2016. So like she's been going to be around for a while. Sabrina's young. Like they have a good forward and a guard. They have like, and then they have a lot of like a good amount of depth.
well, something I will say is this drama with Angel Reese going to the Met Gala. Everyone was like crapping on her, but then they won the game against the Liberty.
By like 48 points.
Right. And then it like very quickly switched to being like, why do the Liberty players like all hate each other? It seems like none of them hang out. They like don't have good vibes in the locker room.
It is a preseason game.
Well, I'm just saying.
A preseason game.
That's what I've been hearing.
Well, we'll find out when the season starts.
Okay.
But it looks like their starting 5 is going to be Sabrina Ionescu, and Courtney Vandersloot as their starting guards. Brianna Stewart and Betnijah Lani are going to be their forwards. And Jonquel Jones, who is prominently featured as well in that podcast that I brought up. She is a very cool figure in the league as well. And she's their dynamic center. So exciting team. I mean, if they weren't from New York, then I might be able to support them a little bit more. But
this league does not know city.
It's true. Because last time we recorded, I was like, I'm kind of feeling Dallas. I would never say that given like
exactly
the Cowboys. I guess it's fine. The Liberty, they got the juice in the jerseys.
True.
They have exciting players. So, but it's fine. I'm not picking a team. We're waiting for Philadelphia. So anyway, I can enjoy the players and enjoy the league from there. But that's it. That's all I have to say about the Liberty.
Okay. Well, that is interesting, and I hope they can, for the sake of their fans. Most New York teams aren't great at the moment, so hopefully the W can pull it out for them.
I know that's right.
Well, we can take a flight over to Las Vegas.
Yes.
And
our last team.
Learn about our last team, the winning team from last year. They went 34-6 last year. I love their logo. I love their uniforms. I think previously it was more red focused. They did a great thing in removing that and now they're focused mostly on black, white, and silver.
Yep.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
I would just get an Aces jersey just because it's black and white.
Yeah. My grandmother lives in Vegas. I can get down with the Aces.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's see how they'll do this year because honestly, I'm just trying to root for a team that's going to win.
She's such a front runner.
I'm disappointed all the time and I don't want to be sad.
Oh, that comes with being a Philadelphian. So.
Okay, well, the Las Vegas Aces were originally founded in 1997 as the Utah Stars.
Let's go with two Z's.
They were fine. Nothing real special about the Utah Stars. They were sold to the Spurs in 2002. In 2002.
Sold to, okay, the San Antonio Spurs. Yeah.
So they moved to San Antonio and became the San Antonio Silver Stars.
So their silver jerseys harken back to their Silver Star roots.
Perhaps.
Oh, and that's why it's Silver Stars. So they were the Stars, and now they're the Silver Stars.
Yeah, but now just normal Stars spelling.
Okay.
No
right,
Z's
no
anymore.
ZZs.
Yeah, they said that's ridiculous. They struggled at first, and then they acquired Becky Hammon in 2007. And then they made the playoffs from 2007 to 2014 every year. So that was a good stretch.
Good run.
And then she retired and they got worse. But they didn't win. They just, they made the playoffs, but they got worse. She's actually the current coach of the team.
There you go.
Becky Hammon.
I did know that.
She was also mentioned in my podcasts, my fashion ESPN Daily podcast, which her signature look is a blazer with a sweatshirt underneath. So still fashion.
That's drip.
2008, they made it to the finals with Becky.
Okay.
But they lost to Detroit.
This is the second year of their run. You said 2007 to 14?
Yeah.
They were really good? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, no, they made the playoffs.
Right. They made the playoffs.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. Well, then they had the worst record in the league for 3 years, from 2015 to 2017.
Okay.
That's fine.
It is fine.
They needed to rebuild.
You know how to tank.
After Becky left.
Let's tank.
But I guess things weren't going well in San Antonio. MGM bought the team and relocated them to Vegas.
Yep. The first team to be relocated to Vegas. Before all these other...
before the Raiders?
Before all these other... the Raiders were 2 years ago. The Knights were 3-4 years ago. Yeah. Yeah, they were the original Las Vegas sports team.
Okay.
Well, don't quote me on that. There may have been one that was there before and got defunct, but,
So that's 2017-18. They move to Las Vegas. 2018, they have the number 1 pick in Asia Wilson and select her. And she wins Rookie of the Year.
Nice.
Becky Hammon becomes their coach in 2022. And then they win in 2022 and last year, 2023.
There you go. 2 championships in a row.
So it was a high, it was a low, now it's a high again.
Yep. Worth it.
This year is projected to, again, be a high.
I'm sure.
We will see if they can pull off the three-peat. They'd be the second team to do that.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. The Comets? I think the Comets did 97 and 99. They probably did 98. I'll fact check, but you keep going.
Okay. They seem to be the favorites again. Obviously, this could have changed now that Candace Parker retired, but she really didn't play a lot of last year because she was hurt. This is a very fun fact. I've been very excited to tell you this fact for a long time.
Okay.
We looked at a roster. We looked at all the rosters of every team in doing this exercise. And on this list, it has their birthdays. So I was like, which player is the closest to my birthday? I just want to know who's like my age.
Yeah.
There's this player, Megan Gustafson, who was born 3 days before me.
Okay.
That's the closest.
That's the closest.
She just got traded this year, or signed, to the Aces.
Okay.
Her dog is a corgi named Pancake. And she tweeted, I need to go to a corgi meetup in Las Vegas and meet other corgis with my dog Pancake.
Pancake.
So I love her now.
Okay.
And Pancake.
We stand Pancake.
Yeah.
Also, to bring it, I was right. It was the Comets. They had a 4-peat.
Oh,
so
wow.
the Aces need to do the 3-peat and then do the 4-peat and then do the 5-peat.
Okay, don't know if 4 is happening.
No.
They drafted Diasia Fair, Kate Martin, and 2 other people who... Elizabeth Kitley, I don't think was waived. Angel Jackson was waived already. But I think it is exciting. We talked about Kate Martin, her drafting.
She's Iowa. Yeah.
She was with Caitlin.
That wasn't expecting to be drafted.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So she made the team, which is awesome.
Yeah. Oh, she did make the team. Cool.
Yeah. So the good thing this year is their core really has stayed together, and a lot of them are on team-friendly contracts. This is something that was confusing.
Team-friendly.
The teams are allowed to have 12 players.
That's the roster size. The max roster.
Max. But depending on their
cap
contracts and their cap space, a lot of them, I think, have 11.
Okay.
But the Aces, because they have a lot of team-friendly contracts, they have cap space to have 12 players.
And team-friendly means they're underpaying them.
Well, they're winning, so.
Oh, well, yeah, of course, of course. I mean, I don't know. I'm not looking at contract numbers because, that's nitty gritty stuff that I don't like to get into sometimes. But like Kelsey Plum, Asia Wilson, these are like very good players
Yeah.
and team friendly. They probably should be playing whatever the most is.
Everyone, they all should be.
No, I'm saying in terms of the cap, we're talking about cap space.
Okay, I have all their salaries. You want me to tell you how
Ooh.
much they're made?
I would love to know.
Asia Wilson, and Kelsey Plum are making the most $200,000 this year.
I guess that's the high.
Actually, yeah, Candace Parker was only supposed to make $100,000, so that's kind of freaking crazy.
Yeah.
So there's you have your team friendly contracts.
And Pancake's bringing home $94K. Shout out Pancake.
I love Pancake. So, Megan Gustafson and Pancake, they're replacing Kayla George,
Okay.
who I don't know much about Kayla George, but that is one upgrade that is an upgrade on paper to make them a better team than last year. But will it perhaps be bittersweet? A lot of these contracts are done this year. Almost every player's contract is ending after this year.
Are they going to stay?
For Asia.
Oh, except for Asia.
Yep. So there's a very realistic chance that a lot of them leave. This guy said it's realistic that Candace retires after this year. Well, we know what that happened.
Yep.
So
They might not have that success.
we'll see.
At least one more ride. Last dance situation before.
Yeah.
I mean, they're going to reload. If Asia stays.
You're right. I mean, it's possible they re-sign people.
Oh, yeah. Of course it is.
They just have to do that.
Right.
So their projected starters are Chelsea Gray at point guard, Kelsey Plum at shooting guard, Jackie Young at small forward, Asia Wilson at power forward, and Kaya Stokes at center.
Sweet. Go Aces. Let's see if they can do the three-peat. Personally, not a huge fan of three-peats, but, for history, it would be cool.
Yeah, it's like kind of boring.
Yeah, but Kristen wants to, she wants to back the winner instead of the scrappy underdog, so.
Yeah, I want to be happy for once in my life.
Well, you have to pick, I don't think in our first year following the W that you're going to feel much in the championship if a team wins. Like, you think you're going to attach to one of these 12 teams immediately?
No, not immediately.
I'm just curious.
No, not immediately.
So you think you're gonna feel joy? I would feel joy. I am going to feel joy with whoever wins.
Yeah, that's really what I want to happen.
Yeah.
And I don't have allegiances right now.
That's what makes it easy. We're just watching hoops.
The problem with Toronto getting a team now,
Yeah.
but really not for 2 years, is like, it's gonna probably be a while. Even if Philly is the next team announced, they're not gonna play for 3 years from now.
That's fine. I'll wait.
Okay.
I'm gonna sit under the waterfall. I'm gonna meditate. And I'm gonna wait until my Philadelphia Freedom or whatever they're called.
It's right there.
It's right there. Come into the league.
Well, I'll say this can segue into how we're planning on formatting our podcasts for the upcoming season.
Because we're going to change how we're doing things. We're going to try something.
I will say I'm not opposed because of this situation. I like to root for somebody.
Sure.
We are planning on every week of the season. It kind of works out that there's 12-ish weeks in the season, and 12 teams. Every week we're going to be rooting for a different team.
Yep.
We're going to be fans of a different team every week, and we're going to try to have a fan who's been a fan longer than us of that team join us on the podcast and teach us more about their team. And we watch the games of that team for that week.
Yes.
So I'm really not opposed to
being won over.
Yeah, for some convincing. If our guests want to try to get me to be a fan of their team, I have an open mind. I have open ears.
Sure. And I will say we have some guests in mind, some guests lined up. We're hoping to start with Seattle to start off the season. But again, like you listener, if you're very passionate about a team, we may be asking for some of these teams that we don't know fans of. We were like doing the math and we're like, oh, we actually know like 8 or 9 fans of teams. So like hopefully we can have them as guests. There are a handful of teams that we don't have. So I will be actively petitioning in certain cases to like, if you want to come on and join us, we're excited to have guests because part of this experience about learning the W is learning it from the perspective of fans who have been following it much longer than us because we have been fans for a month and a half.
Yep.
And as, you know, as strong of a fan as I want to be, I don't have any personal history attached to it.
No, and like honestly, it's been a lot. I've been overwhelmed.
In a good way?
In a good way.
Yeah.
But it's just been a lot to follow.
Yeah. Yeah. But we're still going to be keeping a wide lens on the league. So it's not going to be so specific. Like we're going to talk about the league in general with our guests.
Yeah.
But also just be focusing on a handful of games each week by that team that they're a fan of. So it should be cool to get a lot of perspectives. We may have some newer fans, some very long-term fans. So we're excited to see that whole spectrum of fan because that's what we're here for. We're here to be fans of the W. We're here to listen to fans of the W. We're here to grow watchers of the W. And that's why I want to just say, like, thank you. Even though this is the 7th episode that we've recorded of the show, I can already feel how much enjoyment people are getting out of it, how excited they are, how many new followers of the W are propping up just off of this little project that we've done. And I really like can't say it enough, like how much I appreciate hearing any feedback at all. Because like I mentioned this in the first episode we record, I podcasted in the past and I didn't get a lot of feedback all the time. And any amount of feedback is great, but especially in this case with something that Kristen and I are excited about, it's so cool to hear that you are also excited for the season coming up. And it's a really important season for the W. We keep saying that. Like this could be a momentum shift.
Oh, yeah.
It's a big inflection point.
It already has been.
Already has, big time.
Because there's already been a lot of changes. The teams are all getting chartered planes for the first time.
Yeah.
When before they were just riding on a regular airplane. That's insane. Tip off, the first games of the year are being streamed on Disney Plus.
Yep.
That's crazy. And that's such an easy thing for them to keep doing.
Literally the first live sports ever shown on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
Really crazy. I mean, obviously the streaming services are trying to like get live things now to keep people in.
Great.
Hulu
has live sports.
Well,
Hulu better get some live women's sports.
Hulu doesn't have live women's sports.
No.
Imagine those promos.
So I think even the league is feeling it too, which is great.
Yeah.
Keep putting the pressure on them.
Big time. Keep putting the pressure on them. Go out to some games this year. We actually, if we're going to go to a game, we're going to go to a Liberty game. So I should keep that in mind.
Yeah, it's true. But like we can go. Maybe there's like a Liberty Aces game. That would be
probably really expensive. Yeah.
We'll see.
We will see. But again, if you're enjoying the pod, if you want to reach out, we're both available on Twitter. I'm on Twitter at PigeonHat, PIDGEONHAT. Kristen's on at Kristen_Barber.
No. Kristen Barber _.
I got it wrong.
Don't you know it is my handle on everything.
Oh, it's her handle on everything if you want to follow her on Instagram.
Too. Whatever.
Yeah, I don't use Instagram. So,
this is my last fun tidbit of information.
Got one more tidbit before we sign off.
We learned so much this week. It's been crazy.
We did. Sorry, this is a big one.
We must be living under a rock, because a month ago I saw something on Twitter
Yes.
that was Sue Bird and Megan Rapinoe are coming out with a soccer themed romance TV show.
Yes.
TV series
Yes.
of two, like
A scripted TV series.
yeah, based off a book.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that's funny that those two women are making this show. Mm-hmm. Keep scrolling.
Uh-huh.
It's like weird. Okay, literally not weird. They are engaged. For 4 years they've been engaged. They've been dating for
4 years before
7
that.
years.
Yep.
I literally had no idea.
Yeah.
And now they have like a TV production company.
Oh, they do.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
Crazy.
It does feel bad. This was something that I know I was aware of.
I'm sure I had been told,
Yeah.
but it's just not.
It wasn't like a fundamental thing.
Did not
in your
stick in my brain.
Yeah. Well, because you weren't following the W, you weren't hearing about Sue Bird in the volume of that you probably should have been.
No, not at all.
Obviously, and Sue is part of the national women's basketball team, and Megan was a figure of the women's soccer team.
Right, I watched that. I pay attention to that.
You were paying attention to that. You weren't paying attention to the women's basketball at all.
No.
And then you're like, wow, this is like the most obvious thing in the world that we should have paid attention to.
Right, like an idiot.
Yeah.
So, that's a fun fact.
There you go. We're learning things. We're continuing to learn things. We're learning obvious things. We're learning less obvious things. We're learning about players. We're learning about teams. We're learning about championships. We're learning about the future of the W, and we're excited. If you'd like to send us an email, attackthebaseline@gmail.com. That's all I have for our Snapshot series. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you enjoyed the little primer.
Hope you enjoy the season openers.
We got 2 games on Tuesday night. Get excited.
Fun.
Yes. And we'll be there watching. But while we're watching it, we're going to see that baseline. And we're going to do that thing.
Attack it.
That's right. So again, hope you enjoyed the pod. We will talk to you soon, learning a little bit about the Seattle Storm. So get excited for that. But in the meantime, enjoy some W. We'll be there talking to you if you want to talk. And we thank you again for listening. Talk to you soon.
Bye.